Hi guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Please hit that thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, please. Thank you. And if you get anything from my work, a connected dot, an epiphany, a mind-blown moment, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the links are below the video. I'd really appreciate it. And the holidays are coming up. Check out my website, AllyKatzkreations211.com. Those are just examples of my work. Email me if you would like anything customized. I might do a video this weekend. I'm making different candle scents. I got a lot of ornaments going on and just things that I will be having up for sale. And I do that privately through my email. So email me, don't be shy. Okay. Quantum AI Metaphysical Ponderings, because I haven't done one in a while, and I got some good articles. Yeah, some really good articles. Let's just say the last couple of days, I really wanted to do more spiritual soul advice, but upstairs is saying no, no, not yet, not yet. And they usually give me something to help people with besides oracle cards or affirmations. It'll come. They're asking people to look at a bigger, the vastness of the bigger picture, and to start continuing to work on thyself and the shadow work that people are still kind of refusing to do, but we need to do it. And as the energy is being pulled in, the CMEs, that almost X class hitting the earth, we're going in the next couple of days where I've been bombarded by a lot of energy and downloads, and so like fresh stuff will start coming out. So don't you guys worry. I'm not ignoring the energy going on. I'm absorbing it and working through it, because my goodness sakes. So being a channel, before I get in the articles, I don't do readings, FYI. I don't do channelings. I don't do any of that stuff because I'm not ready to. I'm not comfortable. But two entities, Yeshua and Halal, again, go watch Pamela Erlin and go watch her channelings. She kills it. Hi, Pamela, if you ever watch me, you're amazing. And not everything that she channels I'm in alignment with in my heart space. I don't agree with some of the beings that come channel through her, and not saying she's wrong. It's just I don't connect with that energy. I don't feel it. Where other stuff, absolutely feel it. Dolores Cannon is one of them. So she channels a lot of good stuff, and she's pretty on it with the messages. And her older work with Yeshua is what I'm looking back at. And it's all the messaging that, this is what Spirit does. They use the internet and other people's work to validate what they're giving me. So, yeah, fun times. Draining. Very, very, very draining. But life must be lived. So the first article we have here, I had to do this and I have to read it because a lot of people know how I feel about this particular topic. This is from bigthink.com. This is November 25th, 2023. The physicist who wanted to put an end to gravity. Roger Babson wanted a particle insulator, reflector, or absorber of gravity, anything that would stop or dampen it. And this is by Matthew Willis. I'm sorry, guys. I have to move my screen, so my eyes are looking all over the place. I look like a crazy person. I apologize. Trying to avoid things. The big rise of big science after World War II. There you go, right there. After World War II. Oh, yeah, because, Project Paperclip, and we're getting all the Nazi scientists and physicists and rocket scientists and everybody that was in black operations. Fun times. By massive Cold War. Yeah, that's an excuse. And space race spending. They did not talk about the black projects. Space race spending is black op projects, off-planet projects, by the way. There was, however, one fundamental area of physics that didn't see federal dollars. Oh, shit. At least at first. This was this research into gravity and general relativity. Again, I'm not an Einstein fan. I'm not a fan of his work. Because they're proving him wrong now. I've had I don't know if you heard that. I have some sort of spirit in my house that just doesn't it's refusing to leave. I had my REM pod on and I'm hearing things drop, and it's not Morgan. Obviously, I'm alive and I'm not harmed. Otherwise, I would have the sage out. Something needs my attention. Anywho, observation of light bending around the sun simulator in 1919 confirmed Albert Einstein's elegant theory of gravitation. As historians of science David Krischer and Dean Rickles called this aspect of the general theory of relativity. After that confirmation, though, gravitational physics cooled down. Nuclear and quantum physics became where the action was. The Nazis crushing displacement of world's most active centers for gravitational research didn't help. Because they were reverse engineering. They were using a lot of technology that wasn't public. In the late 1940s, there wasn't a physics department in the United States that required their graduate students to study gravitation/relativity. Yet starting in the mid-1960s, there was what has been called a renaissance in relativity, culminating in the work of Stephen Hawking. I don't like him either. And Roger Penrose on black holes. I'll give you a little hint on why I'm not a Hawking fan. You're doing research on space. What the fuck is defined as space? Because it ain't really what it is in the books. Just saying. And in what dimensional space-time is black holes? We have a firmament above us. What's outside of that firmament? And if we look at the Nos Confunden map, and there's lands upon lands upon lands upon lands upon lands, and I mean, they hopefully will one day show us before our lifetime ends what's beyond Antarctica. But because I have light being capabilities of astral projection and beings taking me beyond this realm and bringing me to something going underneath, what then really is a black hole besides another matrix? So their math, because we're bound by ontological mathematical patterns and sine waves and cosine waves and other things that bound us by math. Well, outside of this realm and outside of this density, math is a little trickier and different. We only perceive the interpretation of this realm to what these fuckers wrote. Not all is a lie, but not all is true. As Kreiser and Rickles show, the Renaissance was seeded by money and private patrons. Businessman Robert Ward Babson, 1875 to 1967, and Agnew Hunter I never get his name right, Bonson, 1915 to 1964, funded the mentioning of gravitational physics when no one else would. But since plutocrats usually want a say in where their money is going, Black Ops, that funding was somewhat eccentric. Both men were absolutely obsessed by anti-gravity. Oh, key word there, because what were they doing at that time frame? Oh, our little EBE fell down. Oh, Area 51 S2, China Lake. Under the ground, the dumbs. I mean, if people talk about dumbs all the time, really look to know how long ago those were really built. And yeah, you could say they're ancient tunnel systems. Yeah, many of them are, but when were they expanded? And what factions and races expanded them? Not all are reptilian are underneath the ground. And not all underground is bad. Again, I'm here to challenge your thinking. I'm here to seed you expansion. Everybody's surface level, dumbs. Oh, they have to blow them up, and they were around during World War II, and they were ancient systems. And okay, so let's think about though who and what made them. And some of these tunnels, Transylvania Sunrise, and I got the books, I'm still mulling through Moonrise. It's telling you there's a lot. A lot we don't know. Roger Babson was famous for predicting the 1929 stock market crash. 1948 was something a personal grudge against gravity, our enemy number one. He set up the Gravity Research Foundation 60 miles from Boston. The location was chosen because it was supposed to be outside the blast radius of an atomic bomb over Boston. Now, I'm going to say sorry, Jack. The New Yorker in me doesn't want any one of our cities, even though I'm not there anymore, to get smashed up to smithereens and a fallout happening. But Boston, get rid of all the no. That'd go against my divine neutrality. Can't do it. Babson blamed gravity, he capitalized it, for the deaths of both his sister and grandson, both of whom drowned in separate swimming accidents. When Babson, most wanted from his gravity researches, was a particle insulator, reflector, or absorber of gravity, anything that would stop or dampen the damn stuff. His interest in slaying what he called the dragon, gravity, led into fantasies about prenuptial motion machines and free and limitless electrical power. He also marketed patent medicine, gravity pills, which he sold for sore legs. He even built the Thomas Edison Bird Museum with 5,000 specimens. This was named after his inventor friend Edison had once suggested birds could fly because they had the secret of anti-gravity. Along with block grants to colleges and universities, Babson's foundation also contributed actual blocks of stone to 13 institutions. The foundation's monument at the Tufts Institute of Cosmology is inscribed to remind students of the blessings forthcoming with a semi-insulator is discovered in order to harness gravity as a free power in reduced airplane accidents. Who puts that on the side of a building? Oh, geez Louise, if they only knew that airplanes don't have fuel. Oh, man. Sorry, I had to calm my laughter down. In 1952, the popular scientist science writer, sorry guys, there's my dyslexia again, Martin Gardner parodied Babson and his foundation in a book of pseudoscience, but Babson's money was certainly real enough and hard to say no to. The foundation's essay competition first prize was $1,000 in the early 1950s, equal to a grad student's stipend. Stephen Hawking won 6 awards from the foundation in 1960s and 70s, turning away from trying to control gravity to understanding it. The foundation fought its way to respectability. The first conference on gravitation in 1951 saw 22 attendees. By 1958, 280 people were attending. Agnew Babson, meanwhile, was rather younger than Babson, but just as fascinated with anti-gravity. A Gravity Research Foundation trustee worked with Bryce DeWitt, the 1953 winner of the foundation's essay contest, and Cecil Moret DeWitt, a renowned physicist in her own right, to set up the Institute of Field Physics at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. We know what those institutions do. He was a tireless fundraiser, even though the Institute's physicists and administrators made a point of saying that they had no connection with anti-gravity research. Anti-gravity being impossible under general relativity. There you go. Bonson signed off on that official statement, but continued his own dabbling in would-be anti-gravity machines. His 1959 novel, The Stars Are Too High, features a gravity-defying flying saucer. Hoping to ease Cold War tensions, gravity claimed Bonson at the age of 48 when his private plane crashed. The Renaissance, oh yeah, his plane crashed. Oh yeah, it did! Assholes killed him. The Renaissance of relativity may be an apt term in more ways than one. Babson and Bonson were like the Patreons of the Renaissance, only instead of funding artists, they funded gravitational physics and physicists, but were the Medici ever so eccentric. 。 . 。 . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . repulsion, antimatter, quantum entanglement, you see, I hope more of these people start coming out with their technology, because we already seen the flying saucers, we already seen them defying physics that we only know of because that's all the physicists ever, they don't, that stuff isn't out to the public yet. And when that hits the academia, a lot of textbooks have to be rewritten. But let's hope that it's the right people writing the right shit in a book instead of the falsities and the misgivings and doings and turn, look over here while we do this kind of shit. It's really important to understand what is going on in science, because everybody screams med beds, but again, what the hell are you going to put your body into something you don't know who created it, the will and intention behind it, and what is it entangled to? We scream these things, but do we understand what is going on in academia for the people who are actually creating this stuff? And even if, let's say, the so-called white hats took over some of these academies and colleges and all these laboratories and all this stuff, a lot of these kids don't realize the projects they work on are just smaller little nuggets of things that they all compartmentalize in different parts of the world, and then combined together they create the Doom machine, and here comes the Death Star, and here comes Nibiru, and here comes everything. So worthless. This next article, you love it. This is from www.physics/astronomy.com. Quantum experiment breaks reality by seeing two versions of reality existing at the same time. Oh! Written November 13th, 2022 by the editor here. We are aware of how skewed our perception of reality is. How we see the world is shaped by our senses, our societies, and our knowledge. Hermeticism would tell you, and so would universal law, that the things that you will in intention are the what is manifested into your material world. Collectively, we all do this without our knowledge. Why nothing has happened yet. And you may want to rethink your belief that science will always provide you with objective reality. Nope, it's untangible. Physicists may now verify a hypothesis that Nobel Prize winner Eugene Wigner initially put out in 1961. The setting of the experiment, dubbed Wigner's Friend, is not too difficult. You begin with a quantum system that is in superposition, which implies that both of its states can exist concurrently up to the point of measurement. In this illustration, the polarization, the axis on which a photon spins, is both horizontal and vertical. When they measure it, the system will collapse, and the photon will be stuck into one of those two states. Wigner's buddy is in the lab doing the experiment. However, the quantum system, which crucially always includes the lab, remains in superposition for Wigner, who is outside the lab and ununiformed of the outcome of the experiment. Despite having different outcomes, they are both accurate. If Schrodinger and his cat in a box were both in a box, this would be analogous to Schrodinger's cat, a thought experiment regarding superposition. As a result, it seems as if Wigner's reality and his friend really coexist, and that's a difficulty. It has been impossible to test this theory for a very long time. Wigner finds it difficult to calculate the quantum mechanics formula after seeing his buddy do an experiment. However, owning to recent advances, scientists were able to create a quantum mechanics experiment that would precisely replicate that. A cutting edge 6-photon experiment in the system's 4 entangled, keyword, observers demonstrated that while one component of the system generated a measurement, the other revealed that the measurement had not been made. At once, two realities were measured according to study. This supports the claim made by quantum theories, whose framework already takes observer dependence into account. Can their various records be reconciled, or are they fundamentally incapable, making it impossible for them to regard objective, observer-independent facts of the world? The influence and limits of the observers are well understood, despite the fact that science is the finest instrument we have for understanding reality. No, it's not. Observers may not see simultaneous occurrences at the same time according to relativity. Again, we got to chuck that relativity out the fucking window. It's bupkis. We learn from quantum physics that observers have an impact on their experiments because your thoughts create reality. Now, it seems that two worlds may exist simultaneously, and they always have, at least at the quantum level. The multiverse. If I'm in this vehicle with a portion of my soul, I have a huge chunk of my soul in this avatar as we speak, but I also have two other avatars running around another dimensional space right now, and I'm able to get snapshots of entanglement from the other two avatars with soul fractals of myself. We can observe reality or the construct of this matrix, holographic matrix. It's quite interesting. But you also have to fathom that there is an astral, there is other densities that inhabit very close to our octaves. Fourth density, we're already in, we're ping-ponging between the highest octave of third density, and we are ping-ponging into the lower fourth sub octave of 4. We're not completely all in 4 just yet. And if anybody wants to, well, the 5th dimension and the 5th density, well, you can't skip 4. I don't know why everybody's skipping right to 5, because half of the people on this planet have not expressed full, unadulterated compassion and unconditional love for all, not just some, not who you want to give compassion to. It's the overwhelming amount of us who can hold that compassion and unconditional love that Yeshua kind of taught in the Bible. And everybody kind of just ignores it and goes, well, I'm going to go to church and I'm going to just be as righteous as I possibly can and judge everybody on the side. Doesn't work like that, folks. I'm sorry. Doesn't work like that. That was a very short article. Thought there was more to it. I don't want to channel. I don't want to. Okay, so another guy is stepping in, and I'm okay with that. they're making me push this. Okay, this is, you know, hard for me because I see the injustices. I see who's actually encountering and doing all this negative stuff. But in the same breath, okay, if fourth density is going into your heart space and having unconditional love and compassion, and everybody's up for, oh my god, the solar flash and all this stuff is going to happen. Well, I could care less if the flash happened or not. Are you in your everyday life exhibiting the unconditional love and compassion? Why I read this little tiny article about having reality, two versions of reality exist, because Dolores Cannon spoke about this in her books. We're simultaneously living in different densities constantly, and some of us can see fourth density and we can see the beings inhabiting fourth density. Depends how high your vibratory state is. A lot of kids are seeing ghosts and seeing astral forms, celestial and elemental. A lot of us see stuff out of the corner of our eyes and we can't make sense out of it. That's another reality existing within our own. So we really need to, like, ask science. Why aren't you asking the people who can see? Yeah, can you prove it in photographs? 9 times out of 10, people are photographing UFOs, UAPs. People are getting forms in the light. People are getting, you see them on TikTok. I don't really like TikTok. Excuse me. There's a lot of reasons for it. Not because I don't care what nation owns it. It's people steal other people's content. I don't like it. And they make money off of it. Again, knowledge is great, but what people subscribe to is just scary. Anywho, it is said in many books that I have read that Dolores's concept of we're already here, we're already on the new earth. It's just we have to meet its energy to experience it. So if that really is the case, that pull potentially is here. And if too many people are stuck on the old systems and not wanting to change and not having the heart space to make those changes, and they're not easy changes. It's not easy when everybody that you listen to, you follow, you watch, you are interacting with people, or are not exhibiting, they're only exhibiting it to some, not to all. And that's not easy, because I'm being like downloaded and being bombarded by upstairs to say, well, you gotta, you're sorry, you signed up to walk Source's path and in the path of righteousness, and that means you have to give compassion to everything and everybody, even if they eat babies and cannibalize. It's an experience. I don't have to condone it. I don't have to like it. I don't have to give my energy to it. And that's something that I feel that is happening. And I'm going off tangent again, and I do apologize, but I think, again, Spirit is stepping in and they're making me say it. Fun times in Allison Land. www.livescience.com. Earth slammed by ultra power goddess particle, cosmic ray, We have no idea where it came from. A few people actually touched upon this article and like reshared it. This is by Harry Baker, published November 23rd, 2023, that is. Researchers recently detected an ultra high energy cosmic ray. Again, where are these rays really coming from? Which is the most powerful since the famous, oh my God, particle. I'm sorry, I had to. Was detected in 1991. They have no idea where it came from. I laugh because, like, they have to know where it comes from. They don't know how, they don't need to know the source of where it came from, but it's not of this world. Yeah. Researchers have detected one of the most powerful cosmic rays ever seen slamming into Earth, but they have no idea what caused it or where it came from. The extremely energetic particle, which has been named after a Japanese goddess. Interesting why they chose a Japanese goddess. Arrived from the direction of a void in the universe where almost nothing is known to exist, according to new research. And no offense to Japan, like, I love you guys out there. It's not a slandering thing towards you at all. I'm curious as to why a Japanese goddess. But before I even move on forward, if the universe and what we have our concept of what that looks like, meaning that if most people are viewing, even if the Earth is flat, it doesn't necessarily matter. There has to be something outside of the millions of miles of other lands and other inhabitants and other firmaments and other domes and other land masses. There has to be something beyond that and that void. And in physics, if you take it in terms of without the globular thing and planets and all this stuff that's outside, and again, there's no right or wrong in perception, because metaphysically, what you think becomes. So if enough people believe and think, it will become, and that is the heliocentric version of what people are. You're so stupid, flat earthers. Blah, blah, blah. No, I don't believe much of anything that I hear when it comes to stuff like that, because again, there's a lot to say on both sides. At the same time, a lot of flat earther stuff makes sense, but I don't believe it's flat. I believe it's toroidal. I believe the Pirates of the Caribbean movie told you what that is. As above, so below. And what is the black hole, son? Won't you come wash away the rain? Anywho, if particles and gas and what we imagine to be what space is always forever expanding, there at some point has to be a void space where creation will take place. In creation, meaning if God, source, the infinite all, wants to have another type of experience and experiment, he can deem it so and have whatever entities that are lurking up there take form in terms of planets, lands, and whatever have you. So it's always forever expanding. And in the Urantia book, I don't know how, I don't really align with that, but they have 7 super universes and forever expansion. Could it be plausible? Sure. But it's always expanding, and there's always going to be a space that fills a void. That's how we came. Anywho, cosmic rays are highly energetic particles, many consisting of protons or helium nuclei that are constantly raining through every square inch of the universe, including our bodies. but a small subsection of cosmic rays which hit the Earth roughly once per square mile every year are accelerated to even greater energy levels by some of the universe's most intense phenomena. These extra energetic particles, known as ultra high energy cosmic rays, have at least one exa electron volt, EeV. 1 quintillion, one followed by 18 zeros, electron volts of energy, which is around 1,000,000 times more energetic than the fastest particle from human-made particle accelerators. Bite that, CERN. On May 21st, 2021, researchers detected one of these supercharged cosmic rays with the Telescope Array project, a detector made of individual substations covering more than 270 square miles in Utah. I wonder why in Utah. This particular particle had a whopping 244 EeV of energy, which makes it the most energetic cosmic ray since the oh my god particle OMG in 1991, the most powerful cosmic ray ever detected, which had an energy of 320 EeV and traveled at more than 99.9% the speed of light. Researchers from Osaka Metropolitan University described the recent cosmic ray in a new study that will be published in the Journal of Science on November 24th. They named the mysterious particle Amaterasu. Sorry, I'm butchering Japanese. I butcher every language, so I do apologize. After the sun goddess from the Shinto religion, who is believed to help create Japan. Interesting. When I first discovered this ultra high energy UHE cosmic ray, I thought there must have been a mistake, as it showed an energy level unprecedented in the 3 decades. Study leader author Toshiharu Fuji, an astrophysicist, said in a statement, the scientists are unsure exactly where the UHE ray came from. Its arrival direction points back to a void in the large-scale structure of the universe. The researchers wrote in Science, the region has no known galaxies, nebulas, or other cosmic structures that is perceived. It is possible that the cosmic ray oriented somewhere else and was deflected toward us by magnetic fields surrounding a star or other mass object. However, UHE cosmic rays are less likely to be deflected than less energetic counterparts, the researchers wrote. It is also unclear what could have produced such a powerful cosmic ray. The researchers have suggested several possible sources, including supernova explosions, black hole mergers, and pulsars. But the particle could also come from an unknown astronomical phenomena and novel physical origins beyond the standard model of physics, Fuji said. Researchers are also still unsure what caused the oh my god particle in 1991. The team hopes that next generation observatories will be able to trace the origins of these UHE particles and help reveal what causes them. So there is a particle called oh my god. Which god? I would love to know. Very interesting. But I'm happy these people are writing these things down, because it's very fun to pull things apart and try to expand on what they're already thinking, but in a spiritualized sense. This is from www.freethink.com. Quantum entanglement just got a whole lot weirder. It isn't just identical particles that can be entangled, but even those with fundamental different properties interfere with each other. In the quantum universe, things behave very differently than our common experience would suggest. This is by Ethan Siegel, March 24th, 2023. In the macroscopic world we're familiar with, any object can measure appears to have intrinsic properties that are independent of whether we observe it or not. We can measure things like mass, position, motion, duration, without worrying about whether the object is affected by our measurements. Reality exists completely independent of the observer. But the quantum world, that's demonstrably not true. The act of measuring a system fundamentally changes its properties in an irrevocable way. One of the weirdest quantum properties of all its entanglement, where multiple quanta have inherited properties, they are both indeterminate, but the properties of each one aren't independent of each other. We've seen this demonstrated for photons, electrons, and all sorts of identical particles before, enabling us to test and probe the fundamental and surprising of nature of reality. In fact, the 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded precisely for investigations into this phenomena. But in a novel experiment, quantum entanglement has just been demonstrated between different particles for the first time. And already the technique has been used to see an atom's nucleus like never before. In principle, quantum entanglement is a simple idea to understand, and it's built on the idea of quantum indeterminism. Imagine you pulled a ball out of a hat, and there is a 50-50 chance that that ball has one of two properties. Perhaps its color, the ball could be black or white. Perhaps its mass, either you pull out a light ball or a heavy ball. Perhaps it's which direction it's spinning, the ball could be spinning up or spinning down. If you only had one ball, you might wonder, upon pulling it out and examining the ball, did it always have those properties even before you looked at it? Or did the ball have a set of indeterminate parameters where it was mix of black and white, light and heavy, spinning as both mix of both up and down? That was only determined at the instant you took the critical measurement. This is one of the key insights of quantum mechanics, as shown from famed experiments such as the double slit experiment and the Stern-Gerlach experiment. Both of them are worth an explanation. If you take a barrier with two thin slits in it, what happens when you send a wave at it? The answer is easy. You get a wave-like pattern behind the barrier where the parts of the wave that go through each slit interfere with one another, leading to a pattern of peaks and valleys on the other side. What happens if instead you send a series of particles at the barrier? The answer is again easy. You get a particle-like pattern behind the barrier, where particles either go through slit 1 or 2, and hence you get simply two piles on the other side. But in quantum mechanics, when you send quantum particles through the double slit, you get a wave-like pattern if you don't measure which slit each particle goes through, but a particle-like pattern if you do make the measurement. This is true even if you send the quanta through one at a time, as though they're inferring with themselves the act of observing, of making this critical measurement. And whether you do it or not is what determines which pattern you see. Reality as we observe it depends on what interactions do or do not take place prior to what critical observation. So I can equate something similar to something that we see on Facebook and TikTok and other places where they have something. Is a train moving? Is the train coming into the station or leaving? And it's like a GIF that keeps running. And in your mind's eye, you can stop the train and make it move direction. It's an optical illusion. But that's quantum. If you try to deflect a particle whose spin has already been determined by passing through such a magnetic field, it won't change. The ones that went up still go up. The ones that went down still go down. But if you pass it through a magnetic field with a different orientation in one of the other two spatial dimensions, it splits again, left or right, or forward or backward instead of up and down. What's even weirder now, once you've split it left, right, or forward, backward, if you go and again pass it through up, down magnetic field, it once again splits. It's as though the last measurement you took erased any previous measurements, and with it, any defective determination of quantum state that exists in that dimension. It's a very interesting article. This is a little bit of quantum weirdness, but it doesn't have anything to do with entanglement just yet. Entanglement comes in when you have two or more particles that both exhibit some of this quantum indeterminism, but exhibit it together in a way that's linked. In an entangled quantum system, the quantum state of one particle is correlated with the quantum state of another. Individually, the quantum state of each one appears to be and measured to be completely random. But if you take both quanta together, you'll find that there are correlations that exist between combined properties of both, something you couldn't know if you only measured one of them. You can assume that either standard quantum mechanics applies, or that the state of both particles exists independent of whether they are observed or not. The derived two different predictions, part of 2022's Nobel Prize in Physics, was for the demonstration that when you actually perform these experiments and measure both quantum states, you find the correlations are consistent only with standard quantum mechanics and not with the idea that the state of both particles exists independently of whether they are observed or not. However, quantum entanglement experiments usually involve photons, the particles that light electromagnetic radiation is quantized into. The way that these entangled photons are created normally comes from passing a single photon through what's called a down conversion crystal, where one photon goes in and two photons come out. These photons have all the normal properties of regular photons, including spin, a wavelength defined by its energy, no electric charge, and all the standard quantum behavior that comes along with quantum electrodynamics, but will also have properties that correlate between them, correlations that go beyond the quantum predictions of individual isolated particles and are specific to entangled sets of particles. For a long time, this was the only way to perform experiments with entangled quantum particles, to have two particles that were identical in nature, that were the same species of quantum particle. But in an experiment first, a new kind of quantum entanglement has just been observed. Entanglement between two fundamentally different particles that even have opposite electric charges. The particle physics, you can produce new, heavy, unstoppable particles so long as you meet all quantum requirements. You aren't violating any conservation laws, and you also have enough energy, E equals mc squared, available for that particle to be created from collisions involving protons and or neutrons, quark-containing particles. The easiest particles to produce are known as mesons, which are quark anti-quark combinations. The lightest mesons, which involve only up, down, and straight quarks and anti-quarks, are pi particles, pions, which can be positively charged up, anti-down, negatively charged down, anti-up, or neutral, a superposition of up, anti-up, and down, anti-down. K particles, kaons, which involve a strange quark or anti-quark in either an up or down anti-quark. I don't know that sign because I don't do physics. Particles, etas, which involve a mix-up of anti-up, down, anti-down, and strange, anti-strange quarks. And rayos, which along with an omega particle are made up of up and down quarks and anti-quarks, but have their spins aligned rather than anti-aligned, as for other mesons. These are the only mesons that are lighter than the proton and neutron, and are responsible for carrying the nuclear force within an atomic nucleus. They are all short-lived and will decay into lighter particles, but while the neutral pion particle always decays into 2 photons, the neutral rayo particle always decays into both a positively charged pi plus and negatively charged pi negative pion. I know I'm losing you guys. It's okay. It might not surprise you to learn that some of the properties of the photons that arise from neutral pion decays can be entangled. Photons are identical particles, and these two arose from the decay of a single quantum particle. But the shocking discovery that was just made was that 2 charged pions that arise from a neutral rayo decay are also entangled, marking the first discovery of 2 distinct non-identical particles to display entanglement properties. Particles like pions and rayos can emerge not only from the collisions of 2 protons with one another, but also energetic enough near misses simply from interactions of gluon fields of these 2 protons. There's a lot of physics. I'm going to skip around because that's a lot of stuff. So they're just comparing size and how they could see it. And now we can take a picture where we can really distinguish the density, my favorite word, of gluons at a given angle and radius. The images are so precise that we can even start to see the difference between where the protons and where the neutrons are laid out inside these big nuclei. We have now a promising method to probe the eternal structure of these complex heavy nuclei, with more applications no doubt soon to come. Hi, scientists. How are you? Can you investigate how you are quantumly entangled to the prime creator, and that your higher self and other entities fractalized in your soul content is quantum entangled to you, yet they're not of this density or dimension? And source and prime creators out of time space. So please explain how someone like me can channel way above what the ether is giving. Just putting that one out there. One more article to go. And this is charmingscience.com. And this article is by Mohammed Quazar Rather, November 16th, 2023. Researchers uncovered a new state of matter hidden in the quantum world. Oh boy. A team of physicists, including University of Massachusetts, MIT, Assistant Professor Tigran Sedryakin, sorry, I'm butchering that, recently announced in the journal Nature that they have discovered a new phase of matter called the Creel-Bose liquid state. I don't know if that is being pronounced right. The discovery opens a new path in the age-old effort to understand the nature of physical world. Under everyday conditions, matter can be a solid, liquid, or gas. But once you venture beyond the everyday into temperatures approaching absolute zero, things smaller than a fraction of an atom, or which have extremely low states of energy, the world looks very different. You find a quantum state of matter way out of these fringes, says Sedryakin, something like that. And they are much wilder than the three classical states we encounter in our everyday lives. Typically, particles in any system bump into each other, and in doing so, they cause predictable effects, like billiard balls knocking into each other. They're then reacting in a predictable pattern. In other words, the effects and particles are correlated. But in a frustrated quantum system, there are infinite possibilities that stem from an interaction of particles. Perhaps the billiard ball levitates or zooms off at an impossible angle. And some of these infinite possibilities can lead to novel quantum states. His colleagues have done is an engineer of frustration machine, bill layer semiconducting device. The top layer is electron rich, and these electrons can move freely. The bottom layer is filled with holes or places that a roving electron can occupy. Then two layers are brought extremely close together, interatomic close. I'm going to skip around a little bit. The frustration kicks off the novel Creel edge state, which has a number of surprising characteristics. For instance, if you cool quantum matter in a Creel state down to absolute zero, the electrons freeze into a predictable pattern, and the emergent change neutral particles in this state will all either spin clockwise or counterclockwise. Even if you smash another particle into one of these electrons, or you introduce a magnetic field, you can't alter its spin. It's surprisingly robust and even can be used to encode digital data in a fault tolerant way. It is difficult to observe the Creel-Bose liquid state, which is why it has remained hidden for so long. To do so, the team of scientists, including theoretical physicists Ryu Wang and Bigang Wang, as well as experimental physicists, design a theory and experiment that use an extremely strong magnetic field that is capable of measuring the movements of electrons as they race for chairs. On the edge of the semiconductor, bilayer, something like that, electrons and holes move at the same velocities. This leads to the helical-like transport, which can be further modulated by external magnetic fields as the electron and hole channels are gradually separated under higher fields. The transport experiments therefore successfully revealed the first piece of evidence of the Creel-Bose liquid, which the authors also called the exochronic topical order in the published paper. Whatever that means. All of those beautiful articles will be in the links below this video. Again, I urge and beg to differ to scientists, physicists, and metaphysicians. You're doing all this wonderful work, but that's just in this reality, in this holographic simulated matrix. What's outside of this matrix? What's entangling us to other densities and dimensions? String theory? What is entangled to us is a better question. And are people studying this field? We want to think about medbed technology and all this beautiful quantum fun to heal us and to make us whole again. But what happens of using this technology for transportation, like beam me up, Scotty? Does it already exist? I think the larger questions to a lot of the things that I put my energy into is using these as a springboard for higher end thinking of, okay, so I get the knowing, I get channeled, and there has to be someone out there who can measure the entanglement to my higher self, which is sitting in no space time with source on a higher density level of dimensional scale. How am I multidimensional? How am I getting and receiving information that is not in a vehicle that I'm inhabiting? It might be my interpretation of that, but it's still a question to beg to differ. And what about past lives? What about other incarnations? How are we entangled to those energetically, on a scientific scale, on a quantum scale? When trauma happens in a haunting, you walk into a house, you just get the bad vibes. You don't like the vibes, right? You freak out, you don't feel right. And you watch the Dead Files, you watch Travel Channel shows, right? And you're like, okay, but why does that room feel that way? And then you find out someone got murdered in there. It was very traumatic. Well, then they say that's residual energy. So where does the residual energy and snapshots of that energy remain? In what particle state? In what quantum entangled state is residual energy hiding? Hi, scientists. How are you? These are great experiments to think about and to bring into tangible evidence, because people could channel all day long. 90% of the people are going to think they're batshit crazy, because how is everybody able to channel Jesus or Metatron or Archangel Michael or Saint Germain or Elmora or Seppers Bay? Why is a lot of people able to do that? Why is Quo able to be channeled by like 8 different people in the same room? That would be fascinating to see how Quo is quantum entangled to people's brains and synapses of the brain. So they can use their physical vehicle to deliver a message. Very highly interesting when you apply what you read into the spiritual and how things are really conducted in this matrix and this experience we call life. That source is having an experience through us, therefore we're entangled to source. How? If I only had mathematical skills, my brain would be all on top of that, but I don't. I'd have a big whiteboard behind me and I would be writing mathematical equations, but I'm the artist. But these are really interesting questions I like to ponder all the time because I like science. I just don't like the idea that we're basing our knowledge on bullshit. And not to say science is bullshit, but what have we been lied to about? And if we say everything, well, then what is truth? And in the Satanist realm of God experiencing itself in the negative polarity, so they have to tell you the truth, but in what form? And if it's through fiction and through science, then what really is the mathematics? What really is what should we be perceiving? Because too many people need that tangible evidence. And if we could bring that, and not to discover the oh my God particle, the Bose-Einstein, the God spark, we don't need to recreate the God spark. It's recreated at every moment of conception of a being. That's when the God spark happens. Maybe measure that. Watch the soul come into a fetus. So guys, things to ponder. I always ponder these things. That's why I'm doing this series, because I don't like that these people are in colleges and laboratories, again, doing experimentation on things they know not. And even if they're one of the most genius, smartest physicists and theoretical whatever, and they have all the instrumentation, that's great. But do you really know the end result to your experiment and how that is going to affect humanity as a whole? If you don't, then why are you doing your shit in the first place? We have to get away from the CERN, and we have to get away from understanding that we're here for an experience in the experiment. We're all not supposed to live. We're all supposed to do what we were contracted or assigned to do, and then leave and get off this school. And that is going to be done in different ways. We have to honor other people's choices. And a lot of people are detached, have a hard time doing that. So guys, lots of questions to unravel. Remember, you are your own creator. You create and manifest this reality, and it's up to you to change your mindset and your minds to start living in the unconditional love and compassion of what Yeshua was trying to bring with the law of one. Again, law of one is right here. It's 5 books. Go get it, read it, support LL research, understand it, and if not, read the Kabbalion and other books that have the universal laws in them, because if you don't understand physics, that's okay. I don't understand the math. I can conceptually understand what they're trying to bring across. Read some Dolores Cannon. But until next time, guys, I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your week. The weekend is upon us. Yay. I'm exhausted. Please all be safe, be seen. Sending you all love, light, compassion, grace, protection, and shielding. Please make sure you are shielding and protecting. And yes, there are some methods that say you shouldn't or nor have to do that, but many people feed into the thought forms that people are manifesting on this planet, and that happens to be evil. Let's stop doing that. Thanks. And projecting it at people. The nature of reality is hard to comprehend, but when you get an understanding of thyself and understanding the entanglement that you have with Source, you don't need so much math and so much evidence and Einstein to prove it to you. You'll know it in your heart space. So guys, please be safe, be seen. Please like, share, and subscribe to my content if you haven't done so already. And it's okay if you don't. I get it. I'm not for everybody. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Make sure you visit my website if you're interested in pyramids, wands, and ornaments, and paintings, and candles. I'm going to be making more of those. Shop small, whatever. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good night.